Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, my name's Paul.
And my name is Bev.
That's right, and we're here Mondays with Bev and Paul.
We are.
So thank you for letting us into your phone and your computer and your tablet and your life.
Oh, well said.
Yes.
Well said.
All right, so I hope you all had a happy Easter. Did you have a good Easter?
Yes, it was very nice. Thanks.
So we celebrated Easter and the Passover, so it's all about resurrection and freedom this past week.
It's wonderful.
So lots of changes.
Lots of changes. Oh, my goodness. Everywhere.
So I know there's change in my life. We're going to have a good show today. This is going to change my life. Talking about this,
yeah.
So.
It's going to be really a great topic today.
So we did want to take a moment, though, to give our love and say we're sorry to Diane, the barber here locally. Her nephew just died.
I know.
Yeah, had a really rare cancer and turned 18, and within 30 days he'd passed on.
Wow.
So our hearts go out to Diane and her family.
And her family.
And really sorry about that.
Yeah.
So today we have our DreamCather. There it is again. Should we tell folks what it means, what it's about?
Yes, this beautiful DreamCather was envisioned and brought into creation on December 12th, 2012 by Lorraine Mills. And it is really a global project of cooperation, contribution.
Yes, and we've put out to people on a global idea is if you'd like to have your picture put in the middle of the DreamCather, send it to us. Mm-hmm. And this week we have in the middle of that DreamCather right there, Michelle Cardena.
Oh dear,
lovely Michelle.
I tell you, she is just. She's got a little piece of my heart. This girl.
And she's new on our staff.
Yep.
Just started a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have her. We're glad to have her in the middle of the DreamCather.
We are so blessed.
Yes.
Yeah, to have her.
So if you'd like to be in it, please send us a photo and where you live on the planet.
Wow.
So here we go. I talked last week about this sense of when I was sitting outside and I could hear and see all the birds, and then I thought, well, what happens if my eyes, I couldn't see? Mm-hmm. Well, I could hear all the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, what happens if I couldn't hear all the birds? Then I thought, oh my gosh, I'd have to, how would I communicate? I'd have to have somebody, I could talk to them. Well, what if my speech went away? Well, then I could touch, and then I could start communicating by one tap is yes, two is, and then I thought, well, what if the touch went away in my hands? What if I was paraplegic? And I sort of went up my body all the way until the only little touch left was up in here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I had that vision go away, and I was like, oh my God, when I got rid of touch, it seems like I ceased to exist.
Yeah, at least within this great center called humanity, right? And connected to the rest of the world and all of the other life forms on this planet.
Yeah, with that sense as sentient beings. And so we thought last week, well, let's talk about touch.
Oh, very important.
And we've come up with all kinds of nice things to talk about. One of those things was last week, Joy talked about how touch phobic we are and how we see that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that the biotouch, what we wanted to bring out here today was how biotouch was the opportunity to resurrect that reputation of touch. And we don't have to fight against the phobias. I mean, we're afraid to touch. It's all about sexual abuse or rape or other kind of abuse. We're worried about our children being touched. Men, you found this thing about men too. That was an interesting.
I was going to say, and not to be smart, but those kinds of things have touched all of our lives. Especially in this country, we, as you say, we're touch phobic. So there is this amazing video that I saw the other day and have shared a little bit, and it was about the importance of men being touched in a non-sexual way. And what I really liked was one of the first things said that humanity is hardwired to be touched. It is how we connect to each other and begin to create and really enter into this global community, this community of humanity. And without that touch, men, their self-esteem, goes down. They can go into a depression. They feel isolated. And it's just an amazing process that I think is happening on those levels that we're not conscious of on a daily basis, but are pervading our whole society. That there's this disconnect for men on many levels because of this thought that touch is somehow, incorrect or crosses lines of any kind. And what I love about BioTouch is it just does the opposite. It brings every single one of us, men and women. It equalizes the whole field and just supersedes any of that. It just brings us into the presence of ourselves.
It bypasses the whole, like you said, this thing we have about touch relates to sex kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially for us guys, I just heard this thing, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda were being interviewed, and they said this interesting statement, which really hit me as a guy, which they said, let me just sort of go here, that men are afraid of the we because they're afraid of getting rid of the I. Oh. And women like the we because it's sort of their saving grace. And so, as a guy, we put this little barrier around us, and we might let our, I just was talking to a practitioner who said, my husband lets me, do the BioTouch on him, but oh my gosh, he wouldn't let anybody else do it. There's this, we lock ourselves into the little box.
Right. Well, and when you were saying that about men and women, it's interesting because it's okay for women to just come up and just put their hand on somebody. A man feels he wants, and that's not correct.
Right, and it's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
And BioTouch breaks that barrier. It's and it's so intimate. And we're going to share some of the research that Gary did and some of the things he found in a little project he did with his freshman class.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? Oh, right. So it's interesting because I had this great testimonial of this father. He was a father. He had 2 teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved BioTouch because what BioTouch did for him, he was the soccer coach.
Oh, wow.
And his 2 boys were in soccer, and so they would always get hurt. And he had BioTouch. And he said to me what he loved about that was he could do BioTouch on them for their pain or their hurt. And that intimacy of that touch with them was the first time he'd been able to touch them since they were babies. And it gave him a connection with his boys that he hadn't had for 13, 14 years.
Wow.
And it was like, oh my gosh, I've always remembered that. And when you found out this thing about the men, and we've heard about the paranoia, the phobicness of touch, and the power that BioTouch has to change that.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, even in Kenneth Stevenson's research, when she says that BioTouch is like a kangaroo touch. It is that instinctive, maternal, nurturing. Maybe not so much, just that nurturing, loving connectedness that this video was pointing out, that is what happens when we're disconnected from that hardwired, when we're fighting against what's innate in us, and we're fighting against it because of society's thoughts about men should be doing this and women shouldn't be doing this, or vice versa. We disconnect ourselves from what is so natural and just a part of our whole nature. It's like, wow.
And that's interesting too, because it reminds me again, we went to a federal prison and we taught these men how to do BioTouch. And you could see them sort of melt like they were children. And they actually did it with one another. And the woman who brought us there said, BioTouch was the first thing these men had that they could call their own.
Oh my goodness, that's powerful, isn't it?
And so there's something to this technique, and I think we should share a little about what Gary found, and we can talk a little more.
I think that's a great idea.
So we have our book.
Our book.
Written by Deborah Schildhouse, BioTouch, Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips. And we wanted to read a little bit and then build on what Gary talks about with some of the research he did.
So Gary Schwartz, who wrote the preface in our book, our foreword, I should call it, And he begins to talk about BioTouch. I would like to take this opportunity to share 2 lessons I have learned from my involvement with BioTouch, especially as they relate to other healing practices that fall under the general rubric of energy healing. The first lesson is that it appears that there is no substitute for direct physical touch between the provider and the recipient. No substitute.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's already saying there,
here.
right. And then he says, the strongest effects are consistently reported with direct skin-to-skin contact.
So he goes on to talk about some of that research. We're going to show some of what he found. With 121 students, they were 121 of his freshman psychology class, and he had them go and practice BioTouch. None of them had been exposed to the technique.
Right.
I think we taught them the greeting and the neck or the head or something. And they were to do it 3 ways. One was off the body, as a lot of energy modalities do.
Right.
One was through the clothes.
Okay.
And one was directly on the skin. And he had them do pain, stress levels, and one we wanted to show here is how cared for did they feel. And the solid line that we have is the pre-session. And the dotted line is how they felt afterwards, how cared for did they feel. Now the real interesting thing here is non-contact. They felt less cared for than when they began. That's amazing.
It is.
And of course, cloth, there was a little bit of feeling cared for, but look at the difference between on the skin and how much more cared for they felt afterwards. That's like an
that just
incredible.
speaks what we're talking about.
And then he just asked them overall which they preferred. And here's what they found. So on the left there is the females. On the right are the males. There were 39 males, 62 females. And off the charts.
Yeah.
That skin to skin is the far right, off the body is the far left, and in the middle is through the clothes or through cloth.
Yeah.
And off the charts, everybody just liked touching better on the skin. Now, an interesting thing talking to Gary at that time was he sort of was blown away by the results.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we always said skin wins.
Skin wins. I love it. Well, and he did the research to find, the whole research was based on the importance of touch.
Yes.
He really wanted to. So the fact that he found BioTouch, he actually found you, not the other way around, was, perfect scenario. And would you like me to read
let's read
the
his.
Second lesson after this, again from the foreword he says, the second lesson is somewhat deeper and frankly more inspiring to me and maybe to you as well. The lesson relates to a theme expressed through Deborah's book, The Importance of Love and the Process of Receiving and Giving Non-Sexual Loving Touch.
Wow.
The kind of love that BioTouch fosters is a high level of love, including empathy, compassion, caring, kindness, gentleness, protection, safety, warmth, gratitude, appreciation, and respect. So I'm just going to say after reading that, this is why BioTouch is so incredibly important and a gift, because every single one of those aspects that Gary found with BioTouch is exactly what humanity needs. It's our nature. It's everything we are, and when we don't have that, then we have separateness. We have chaos. Love is the only healing, equalizing, unifying energy that there is in the whole world, and it belongs to every single one of us. That's why BioTouch belongs to every single one of us.
And you can just do it. You can do it sitting there. You can do it at the store. You can do it in front of the TV. You can do it in the bar. You can do it out for dinner. It's the kind of thing you can share. You go over to somebody's house and you just practice BioTouch. It takes you 5 or 10 minutes, and the worry that we as guys have of losing our eye. When we live in the we, the I is even increased in its ability. You know, our talents come out, our ability to know who we are as we stand in humanity.
Right.
You don't lose anything.
No, because the I feeds the we, and then the we feeds the I right back. It's all, you know. And when you were talking about you can do BioTouch anywhere, I was thinking about that this morning. So interesting. I'm thinking, I don't know of anything else where you just, wherever you are, you have the ability and the power to help somebody else just by doing this. I don't know, and addressing, I can't even think of a condition or a situation that BioTouch cannot address and be a part of and help. It's just the most amazing, well, I'm just speechless sometimes. It just overwhelms me because I'm like, oh my gosh. And we are ready for this. We are so ready for this. We're ready to love, right? To claim and resurrect what we truly are.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reputation of love.
Yeah.
I mean, of touch, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to show you how to do some more, because even if all you could do is the little greeting and the neck, things would change. So here we go. We're going to show you the neck
set is used
set
for
here.
addressing most headaches, neck pains, and soreness of the upper back. These points are performed in matching fire on the large muscles that run along the back of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are halfway down the neck on the side of the large muscles. Points 2 and 2 are at the top of the neck on the side of the large muscles at the base of the skull. Points 3 and 3 are at the bottom of the neck on the side of the large muscles. As with any set, you may repeat the points as many times as you like. These points may be touched in any order, such as touching points 2, then points 1, and finally points 3.
And there you go.
Can I just say, watching that little boy doing BioTouch with that little girl.
Oh my God.
Okay, come on. I mean, this is where it begins. BioTouch, when just in that little family group coming into, you know, just being together, that right there just said it all for
and
me.
The interesting thing is they're not even the same family.
Yeah.
They came from two different families.
See, that's
and even more amazing.
just-
So imagine taking it into the schools. Imagine taking it into the elementary schools and teaching these children how to work on allergy points or headaches, and they go home and I mean, what a revolution!
it's a revolution of love.
Yes. So
That's what's
we
happening.
just hope you are going to join us in this revolution and learn how to do BioTouch. This week we have a little link. Hopefully it'll either be up with this posting, or it'll be up afterwards, or we'll send it to you in an email on how you can get the free preview version of our ebook. And to see if you really want to go on and become a member for $18, and you get the whole training manual
Right.
in an ebook version with links to the video on seeing how people do it. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that, really.
No, we're trying. We're trying to make it this gift for you. We're trying to make it as easy for you to get it as possible.
So you just try to click on the link here, or go to our website, justtouch.com. And the interesting thing about that is if you become a member, you get all our workbooks also.
Oh, I know.
And this,
Wonderful.
isn't it this week?
Yeah, on the
no,
27th.
Next
Yeah.
week. Couple weeks, our next workshop is stress and its effects.
Wow. Okay.
And,
that's going to be powerful.
Right, and we just want people to remember, here's the stress chart.
There you
And you
go.
can see where if you bring BioTouch into it, you actually increase immune functioning and improve the quality of life. And now these are all research things done by doctors. And
Oh, yeah.
Barry Schwartz with his PhD.
That,
and
in fact, that chart right there is from Kenneth Stevenson's book, and one of the chapters was devoted to, you know, that touch, BioTouch. And basically her finding through all of that was, well, if you put BioTouch into the equation just once a week, the quality of your health and life is going to be amazing.
and we're talking once a week for 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, this is not a big deal.
just to do the stress set.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just do the greeting and the stress set on somebody once a week?
So we're here hopefully inspiring you. I know it inspires me, because if I don't do it every day, I'm guilty.
Ooh.
I've been shamed.
Yes, we're watching you.
So I'm sort of teaching myself, I got to make this part of my life. It's very difficult. Simplicity is so difficult to do.
We're not hardwired for simplicity, are we? Yeah.
I think we're hardwired for I read this thing. We're hardwired for suffering.
Yeah.
But if we live in the suffering and we bring something like BioTouch, the suffering just sort of falls away and we move into this simple life, this life of caring and love and empathy that Gary talked about.
Yeah, BioTouch brings us into a natural state of beingness, what we truly are.
Yep.
Love. That's it.
So join us also May 5th. I'm going to give a presentation at the
Yay.
Institute of Noetic Science here in Tucson.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to tape it and put that online. So that's May 5th at 6:30 at the Unity Church here in town.
Yep.
And I think we've done another show.
Wow.
So thank you all for letting us into your home,
Absolutely.
into your phone.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you, Bev.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone. And please have a glorious week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
From all around to the sun, they come here every day. They do a lot of touching and they do it without pay. They all do it gladly because they are so sweet. Bless the staff